I'm in my backyard and have time between court dates. So I'm going to chat about the types of bushfires that occur in our community. Now, I'm filming in my backyard. Why? Because I'm not going to film near recent ignition points, particularly those where homes have recently been burnt down, out of respect. Secondly, we're in the middle of summer, having a heat wave. It's weird enough that I film myself in public. I don't want to be any more suspicious. So I will have a conversation about bushfires because as a community, I think this could be useful. First, I'm going to be a bit careful here. The cases are before the courts, so I don't want to impact on the legal proceedings. I'm not alleging that any of the current defendants are involved. This is just a general discussion about bushfires. Let's just look at what type of bushfires are happening around to get the conversation started. First, I've got the following information from researching the papers and social media. I'm Gen X, so if I need to visit a library to look at some old newspapers, no problem. In this part, I'm going to look at bushfires, which I'm going to label restarts. This is where a fire starts, the brigade puts it out, the brigade leaves, the fire starts again, and the brigade comes back and puts it out. Yes, fires can reignite. However, generally, I'm going to claim that brigades are quite thorough and therefore the risk of this happening is low. The brigades patrolled the old Maitland Road bushfire from October 2023, day and night for days after the fire. They frequently re-entered the bush, targeting burning logs and hollow trees. This is to reduce the risk of the fire restarting. They also cleaned up some fire trails, which made it a lot easier to move around. Actually, that location is an example of a restart, so we might as well start at that location. Old Maitland Road bushfire happened on the 24th of October 2023, on a Tuesday morning. It threatened my friend's place, and we got front row seats to the 747 dropping pink fire retardant everywhere. The worst was over by mid-afternoon on that day, and the brigade stayed around for days afterwards. 7 days later, a new fire started just to the north. This was also on a Tuesday, but this time it was about 8-9 p.m. at night. I knew about it because my friend told me. They could see the flames from their home. The brigades jumped on it fast, and it was resolved during the night. The ignition point was just off one of the dirt tracks within the national park, which is adjacent to their property. In my opinion, both fires were suspicious. It's suspicious that a fire would start early on a Tuesday morning in the middle of the bush and then 7 days later in the same area late at night. My question is, if a person was involved, what are they trying to achieve? The second example is the Lake Road Kersley Wine Country sign. I think I've talked about this location enough by now. But on the 24th of June 2023, according to the brigade's social media pages, they were called here to put out a fire at 3 a.m. They departed and then they were called back to a new fire nearby at 6 a.m. By the way, that's the early hours of a Saturday. Just a couple of observations. It happened at night. The location is next to a busy road, but it's likely to be quieter in the middle of the night. It's a bit isolated. The location is surrounded by bush and trees. There are homes around, but they're a bit back into the bush. I'm saying you probably can't notice someone unless you're driving past. The weather. The nearest Bureau of Meteorology site is Cessnock Airport. It's a bit tricky because this happened during the night. However, let's look at a couple of things. This happens in June. It's winter, so it's cool, but a dry winter. However, they had about 4.6 mils on the Friday, which was actually the highest rainfall for that month of June. Remember, this happened in the early hours of Saturday. So there is a chance the area was damp from the rain. The observations from Saturday at 9 a.m, which was hours after the fire, it was 12 degrees, so that's cold. The wind was north-northeast at 15 k's per hour, so that's fairly calm, and the relative humidity was 58%. I think that's not the best weather conditions for a fire. It's cool, calm, and maybe a bit damp. My question is, what was the person or people looking to achieve by starting a new fire hours later after the fire was put out? I think this pattern of lighting fires shows the person was motivated to have a fire occur at this location. It's possible a person waited for the brigade to leave and then restarted the fire. There have been no charges for either of these fires. Another example of a restart fire. This happened at Aberglasslyn. The location of the fires was behind the shopping centre. For those that know the area, there's a lot of houses around there and it's a small little shopping centre. Again, the source of information is the brigade's social media pages. On the 30th of June 2023, behind these shops, brigades were called to a fire at 12:30 p.m, put the fire out and then departed. The brigades were called back at 5:45 the same day, according to social media. By the way, I realise it's only 6 days between these restart fires and the Kersley restart fires that I just spoke about. I don't know if that's relevant. Some observations. This happened in the middle of the day on a Friday afternoon. This location is surrounded by new housing developments. This location is different to the bush location at Kersley. There's more grassland and shrubs. It's a lot less dense here. The shopping centre is next to a main road and it's quite busy. I would think that there would be people around on a Friday afternoon in this area. Therefore, there's an increased chance that someone might see a person because there are more people out and about at this time and at this location. Unlike at 3 a.m. in the morning, where it's probably quiet. What I'm saying is the person chose probably the busiest time of the day to light the fire at this location. The weather. The closest Bureau of Meteorology site is Maitland Airport, which is not very far away. The weather on that day was cool. It's the middle of winter. Winter is dry, but they did actually have 3 mils recorded there the day before the fire. So the weather observations at 3 p.m, which is between the two fires, is 16 degrees, the relative humidity was 43%, and winds are 26 kilometres per hour coming from the west-northwest. In my opinion, I don't think that's the best fire weather. It's cool, higher humidity, and the winds aren't particularly strong. I noticed the wind direction would probably have pushed the fire away from these shops. However, the location is completely surrounded by houses. So I don't think the wind direction matters because it would go in the direction of houses no matter which way. I have a couple more observations and questions about these Aberglasslyn fires. However, I'm going to pause and revisit at a later date as I don't want to risk going too close to a case that's before the courts. So at this stage, I'll just observe that these fires appear to have the pattern, which is fire being lit, fire being put out, fire being lit again. So the same question as before. What is the person trying to achieve here? Restarting, to me, is a type of reckless behaviour. So in conclusion, we have these restart fires occurring in our community. I've identified a couple of bushfire patterns. So next I will discuss a different type while we wait for the court dates.